Yes, good morning to everyone. Uh, we're going to start our next chapter, that is chapter number 8, Human Health and Diseases. Purpose of starting this chapter is actually we have completed first 4 chapters. We could have gone with the fifth, but I wish that molecular biology and genetics related chapters better if we learn in the classroom itself in an offline setup. So as long as this online is going on, we will go through the other chapters where online study is still okay. But in genetics, etc., we need to interact a lot, which is not possible in this online setup. So we'll go for those chapters later on. So human health and diseases. Two terms about which you have to speak. You have to give the information from your side. Then I will explain what is the health and what is the disease. Anything that you know about them, write it down in a chat box and let me know. Your definition, your idea, your views about what is the health and what are the diseases. Okay, basically the well-being of the body is the common aspect that is coming out. The well-being of the body features such as physical, mental, etc. So you all are sitting with the textbook. That's a good thing to know. You all are going through the textual language. That means you are reading the textbook and writing from that. Fine. We will also go with the textbook. Health is the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being of an individual. The three aspects of the individual's life is physical aspects, his mental aspects, and his social behavioral aspects. A well-being in these aspects is referred to as health. If someone is good at all these three aspects, is having a good health, or if someone's one or more such aspects are not working properly, then he or she is not having a good health. So yes, the textbook definition, again I am repeating. The state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being is called as health. One term, I mean, you know, the health is affected by several factors, but the primary factor which can influence the health, and that is the immunity. These days, in the phase of corona pandemic, we all must have gone through this term: improve your immune power, immunity boosting is required. So we all understand that immune system and its functioning has great impact on the health of an individual, although not all the health related aspects are affected by immune system, but majority, particularly the physical aspects of the health, physical well-being in the health aspect, if you see, it essentially requires a very good immunity. Immunity of an individual is affected by the person's endocrine system and neural system. One of the things that you might have even heard about in this period of corona pandemic, by yoga and meditation you can boost up your immunity. I don't know, have you heard about this one? Isn't it? So not only the Ayurveda and medicines, etc., and vitamins, etc., minerals can improve your immune power, but it is believed that your yoga and exercise and other such aspects, meditation, etc., can also improve your immune power. Yes. Uh, Reason is that your yoga, meditation, exercise influences your nervous system and endocrine system, and it gives a positive signals for the building of immune system, boosting up of immune system rather. So naturally it may support your good health. And again, going to that point, yoga and meditation, it's your mind. If it is in a steady, calm, good state, that means your nervous system and endocrine systems will work properly, positively. That means your immune system is going to be impacted positively, and that immune system will have a greater impact on your health. So they say that many of the health related issues arise from the mind, and they can be controlled by the mind only. Through mind you can influence your health also internally. If you tell yourself that you are healthy and you give positive signals to your nervous system and your endocrine system, it will have a positive impact on your health. They say that many of the patients, they give up. They say they give up, and others, they are fighting hard. So it's all about mind. Mentally you accept you are ill, you are not going to survive, then it is difficult to bring you back. But if mentally, if you are ready to fight, then your body will also give the positive response over there. Which aspects affect the health in improvisation of it and deterioration of the health in either way? So genetic disorder is the one which will have a negative effect on your health. Many of the health related issues are because of the genetic defects. Diabetes can be genetic disorder. Some other disorders are there which are inherited: color blindness, hemophilia. So many health related issues are because of your genetic defect over there. Infections, these days a term which is most important: infection, the transmission of viruses like corona and other from one person to other, and how much careful we have to be. We how cautious we are supposed to be, wearing mask, keeping the sanitizers with ourselves, maintaining the distance between the individuals, not going in the public places with the congested setups over there. Infections, but that's not the only way by infection spread. Water, food, air, all the different even sexually transmitted diseases which you have studied in a previous chapter. So infections can also lead to deterioration of the health of the body. Then your lifestyle, as I said, that a proper lifestyle can give you a better health, an improper lifestyle can give you a worse health. Your food that you take in, the amount of food, the quality of food, the type of food that you consume has a lot of impact on your health. The water that you are consuming, in many countries, larger part of the population is not getting pure potable water, drink water which you can drink. So that can be the one. The habits of the individual, smoking habits, drinking habits, etc., can also affect your health. Amount of rest that you take, the kind of a workload that some working places have, in which a person is not able to get even sound sleep. So not getting the rest can also have a lot of damage to your health. And exercise, lack of exercise in your life, the sedentary life that you live, again can have a negative impact on your health. And opposite to that, if you are doing exercise, you are trying to remain fit and fine, it improves your health features. The balanced diet, the personal hygiene, the regular exercise, etc., are giving the maintaining the good health in the individual. A person who is taking balanced diet, quantity and quality wise, who is maintaining the hygiene and cleanliness, that is, and doing regular exercise, I think that person will be able to maintain the health, a good health for a long time. Then comes the term disease. You can define it in a different way, but the WHO and they have major such organizations are defining it in this manner. When the functioning of one or more organs or systems of the body, it is adversely affected. In your body, there are plenty of organs, there are several systems. When in your body, an individual organ or more organs, or maybe one or more systems are affected negatively, adversely, characterized by various signs and symptoms. And when they are affected, certain signs and symptoms appear in the body. We say that one is suffering from disease condition. That's the definition of a disease condition. When would you consider a person suffering from disease? Then you can say that when a person's one or more organs are affected, maybe one or more systems are affected negatively, adversely, and that aspect shows certain signs and symptoms, we say one is suffering from certain disease. You see, we can classify these diseases into two categories, as they are mentioned here. Number one, infectious diseases, and the other one is non-infectious diseases. See, the term itself explains that those diseases which can be transmitted from one individual to another, from one person to another, they are called infectious diseases. AIDS, dengue, malaria. Can you name some more infectious diseases? Corona, AIDS, dengue, malaria. Other than that, yeah, Corona, the COVID-19, I have said. Cholera, yes. Chickenpox, yes. Smallpox, yes. Correct. That's it. Three only. Common cold, hepatitis, TB, plague, herpes, typhoid. Somebody wrote, 1 minute, hold on. Somebody wrote diabetes, which I cannot call. Karuna. Karuna, you wrote about diabetes. Am I right or wrong? It is wrong answer. Diabetes, you think it can spread from one person to another person by air, water, or food, or sexual transmission? You really think that a person who is diabetic can spread the diabetes in the other person? Yes, Karuna? No, na? So it is not the infectious disease. Then we have a list of non-infectious diseases. which do not spread from one person to another. And the first I will put is the diabetes, because that's the one which I explained, that if a person is diabetic, cannot spread it to other person by any means. Other than that, cancer. Other than that, anemia, the shortage of hemoglobin. Can you name few more such diseases? At least two to three. Asthma is the one. One is suffering from his or her own allergic issues. Anything else? Diksha, hypertension is correct. Diksha. And Krisha. Hold on, all of you hold on. Diksha and Krisha, one by one. Diksha, unmute. Jiashri, wrong. Krisha and Jiashri, they wrote dengue. Dengue can spread through. Mananshu is also wrong. Typhoid can spread. I don't know what is happening to you guys. The basics, even if a first standard, second standard child, if I ask them, they can also understand this thing. Dengue is the one. Krisha, Diksha, Devanshi, they all were wrong in spreading the wrong information. Dengue is something, jaundice is something, which can spread from one person to another person. Obviously, carriers are required, but then it is possible. Yeah, the arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, gouty arthritis, multiple sclerosis, the autoimmune disorder, psoriasis. Emphysema, these are the things which are not going to spread from one person to another person. Night blindness, hemophilia, they don't spread from one person to another person. So we call it as the non-infectious diseases. The common diseases in humans for which the pathogens, if you talk about, you know, any organism that is cause of the disease is considered as pathogen. That organism which causes disease in an organism or in a human or in a person is accepted or considered as the pathogenic organism. There are a lot of bacteria. Major four groups of pathogens for the humans are bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoans. Some or very few diseases, such as they are caused by, helminths. Some are caused by prions. Some of them are caused by some other structures and organisms. But by and large, four major groups are there: viruses, bacteria, fungi, and protozoans. And additionally, prions and flatworms and roundworms, etc., can also be causing certain diseases over there. In our study, we're going to talk about some bacterial diseases in human, some viral diseases in human, some diseases in human caused by fungi, some by protozoa, and some by helminths. Let's start with the first one, some important bacterial diseases in human. We got a list of 10 different diseases, 8 to 10 different diseases. One by one, we're going to talk about them. And finally, we will see some general aspects regarding the disease control. We start with the first, typhoid. A bacterial disease. Well, the pathogen which is responsible for this is Salmonella typhi. Salmonella, the uh, Salmonella is the genus, typhi is the species, scientific name, Salmonella typhi, the bacteria. Basically, its entry point is alimentary canal. It enters the small intestine through the food, so the contaminated water and food consumption of that can be responsible for the cause of this typhoid. It spreads through the contaminated food and water. That's why the edible things and potable water should not be kept in open. Otherwise, the salmonella transmitted by the house flies, they can cause the typhoid in the individual. Once the food and water are contaminated, and such a food and water, if it is consumed, first of all, the organism, the bacterium, salmonella, reaches to the small intestine. That is its target site where it can flourish. After flourishing in the small intestine, from there it will spread to the other organs of the body through blood. Through blood, it will spread into the body and target other organs also, other than small intestine. That's a prime target. Symptoms: person is suffering from sustained fever, 39 degree to 40 degree Celsius temperature persistently, weakness in the body, stomach pain, constipation, headache, loss of appetite. You see, these are the symptoms from mild to severe category. They will be available, seen in the patient's body. But in a severe case, extreme severe infection of this salmonella, perforation will be there in intestine. Intestine will get perforated. Its wall will be perforated because of the severe infection of salmonella, and that might lead to death of the person, death of the patient over there. It can be a deadly fetal disease, the typhoid. So that is the profile of its symptoms. Diagnosis: Vidal test. It's called Vidal test to diagnose the typhoid infection, the salmonella presence. Vidal test is conducted. There is one story behind this typhoid. You may have heard about it. Typhoid Mary. Actually, name of this person was Mary Mallon. She was Irish girl who migrated to US in early age, in young age, teenage. She migrated to US. She was actually asymptomatic patient of typhoid. What do we mean by asymptomatic patient of typhoid? She was the one who was infected with salmonella since long time. Some say that since birth, as her mother herself was infected during the pregnancy from the typhoid and salmonella infection. So some say that since birth she was infected with this salmonella. Interestingly, she never had uh, this what do you say, symptoms of it. She never suffered from this fever and infection in small intestine and this and that. So when she was asymptomatic carrier of salmonella, she went to US. She migrated to US over there. In US, she opted for the profession of cook. She became the cook. She used to go to the rich family and was working as a cook over there. She started with the one rich family where she working as a cook. She spreaded typhoid in that family. Most members of that family suffered from typhoid infection after short time of entry of this Mary Malone in that family. Then she left that work and she went to work at some other family. In that family, she started working over there as a cook. Again, that family got infected. One by one, she was a servant as a cook for several, 7 to 8 different families. And in that period, she spreaded the infection to at least 53 known cases were there. So 53 persons suffered from typhoid in that period. Later, while tracing, the government agencies could find that it is Mary Malone. Wherever she goes, she is spreading one common factor for all these people. That was this lady who was a common factor, who was a cook and who was spreading through her, because she was the cook. Food and water that these people were consuming was infected by her, and that was the one which was spreading this typhoid into these families over there. 53 people were found to be suffering from typhoid one after the other, and 3 of them even died. And since then, she was quarantined. This term which we are learning these days, na quarantine. She was quarantined for a long period in her life because government agencies found that she is a carrier of typhoid, the salmonella. So she should be kept separately from the populations. And that is how she was isolated and quarantined. And in quarantine only she died. So she is known as Typhoid Mary. Well, any question on the same? Anything to ask about first one? No? Okay, fine. Uh, Next is pneumonia. Pneumonia is caused by the bacterial pathogen. One of them, that is Streptococcus pneumoniae. Streptococcus pneumoniae. Short में उसको pneumococci कहते हैं. Another one is Haemophilus influenzae. Another bacteria. Haemophilus influenzae and Streptococcus pneumoniae are the two bacteria which are responsible for causing pneumonia over there. These are the pathogens which are causing infection of the lung, lower parts of the lungs. Lungs का जो lower region होता है, उसमें generally infection start होता है, फिर upper parts, middle parts में spread होता है. See, pathogen as soon as it enters into the respiratory system, its entry point is respiratory tract, through which it will enter into the alveoli of the lungs. So its ultimate target is lungs. Through the air, it will be inhaled and it will enter into the respiratory passage, and then through that it will reach to the lungs over there. Inside the lungs, there are alveoli. You may have heard about this one, that inside the lungs, there are alveoli, the chambers over there. When infection happens, the pathogen reaches here. When pathogen infects the lung, then there is a fight that is going on between the immune system and the pathogen in this region. If this is the pathogen inside the alveolus, our immune system components such as WBCs, they enter in this alveoli to have a fight with these pathogen over there. So a severe fight, it's like a battleground. Alveoli turn into battlegrounds. The one in which there are WBCs which are coming out inside this infected alveoli where there are already bacterial pathogen, pneumococcus is present. Bacteria will try to increase its number. Pathogen will try to kill this bacteria and clear the area. But in the fight between this pathogen and the WBCs, ultimately, many of the WBCs die, many of the bacteria die, and a lot of fluid is secreted in this region, rich in antibodies and other materials, mucus and other stuff. So these alveoli get filled up with this fluid over there. When the alveoli get chocked up, imagine the alveoli are filled up, hazy appearance in the lungs because the alveoli are filled up with this fluid over there. When alveoli get filled up with this fluid, their efficiency of gaseous exchange is gone. They are not able to carry out gaseous exchange. So gradually your lungs become functionless. It will gradually spread from 10% area of the lungs, 20%, 30%, it will spread gradually. This you may have even heard for COVID. It is also infecting the, our respiratory system, and particularly the lungs are infected because of it. So gradually this will spread in the lungs and it damages the lungs severely, and that can lead to ultimately a death of a person if not cured on time. What are the symptoms that the person will face? Fever, chills means उसको shivering होता है, ठंड लगती है. Cough and headache. In severe cases, the lips and fingernails, they may turn gray to bluish in color, which is called as cyanosis. Person के lips और जो fingernails होते हैं, उसके immediately below blood run करता है. आप उसको प्रेस करेंगे ना fingernail को, आपको पता चलेगा कि वो वहां पे blood flow बहुत ही डायरेक्ट immediately वहां से जा रहा है. If a person is already suffering from this pneumonia and having the shortage of the oxygen because the alveoli are filled with this fluid, what happens is that person's blood is having reduced level of oxygen. Our blood with the reduced level of oxygen, it starts turning from red to slightly bluish tinge उसको मिल जाता है. जैसे पता है ना, वेन्स का ब्लड थोड़ा थोड़ा रेड कम होता है, वो ब्लूइश टिंज होता है, जबकि आर्टरीज का ब्लड ऑक्सीजनेटेड होता है तो इट इज हैविंग अ रेडिश अपीयरेंस ओवर दैट. सो ऐसा थोड़ा ब्लूइश टिंज वाला ब्लड जब पास होता है फ्रॉम द लिप्स एंड दिस fingernail region, so it gives the bluish appearance to the lips and the fingernail. This scenario is extreme situation in pneumonia and it is known as cyanosis. अगर पेशेंट को साइनोसिस होना स्टार्ट हो जाए तो अंडरस्टैंड कर लेना चाहिए कि पेशेंट के लंग्स को सीवियर डैमेज हो गया है, तब जाके साइनोसिस होता है. How does it spread, the infection? Well, it spreads by inhalation of the pathogen. How do we inhale the pathogen? Number one, the droplets and aerosols released by an infectious person. A person who is infectious, while he speaks or he sneezes or he is coughing, he or she is coughing, in all this scenario, he or she is spreading the pathogen through the aerosols over there. अभी तो आपने कोरोना फेज में ये सब देख लिया होगा, animated videos and other videos are available which show how corona spread. Same way the pneumonia pathogen can also spread. So you don't have to sneeze or cough in open. While you do so, cover your face. And these days it is advisable to have a mask So even while you speak, you don't spread the pathogen, or you are not yourself getting infected by the airborne pathogen. It's the airborne pathogen which will spread through the air. Also, if somebody has used glasses and utensils, things which are used by the one person, if you use, maybe that can also be cause of the infection. If infected person has passed on some pathogen on that glass or any such material, it can spread into another person. It is possible. That is about the pneumonia. Well, if you have any doubt, I can explain, solve your doubt. At least write down no questions, so I'll go to the next then. Are you all sleeping? Okay, fine. Third one, common cold. Third one is common cold. Well, it is caused by rhinovirus. It infects nose and respiratory passage, but not the lungs. Mind you, this thing. कोरोना एंड कॉमन कोल्ड में क्या डिफरेंस है? कोरोना वायरस causes infection into the lungs also almost. So upper respiratory passage, so cough and cold will be there. Throat region is also affected, so sore throat is also there, and subsequently lungs are infected, wherein the breathing efficiency is reduced over there. Unlike that, the rhinovirus, the common cold virus, restricts itself only up to upper respiratory tract. So it will cause infection of nose and respiratory passage, but it will not enter into the lungs over there. Symptoms: nasal congestion, नाक भर जाता है, and discharge, उसमें से fluid discharge होता है. बेसिकली क्या है, ये जो इन्फेक्शन होता है उसके अगेंस्ट में जो नेजल एपिथेलियम है उसका रिस्पॉन्स है ये. Nasal epithelium secretes lots of fluid is secreted over there from the nasal epithelium, and that is causing the nasal congestion. अच्छा, sore throat region में भी infection होता है, तो वहां पे ड्राइनेस आ जाती है, थोड़ा बर्निंग सेंसेशन होता है थ्रोट में, so the sore throat will be there. Hoarseness, sound alters, even it infects the larynx के infection में ये sound change हो जाता है हमारा, जिसको hoarseness कहते हैं. Cough, headache, you may have heard about virus of common cold will spread even into nasal sinuses. ये जो sinuses होते हैं ना, cavities होती है, cranial cavities होती है जिसको sinuses कहते हैं, which are interlinked, like nasal passage से brain के sinuses interlinked होते हैं, वहां पे भी spread होता है, वहां पे भी secretions होते हैं fluid के और वो भर जाते हैं. headache होता है, head heavy सा लगता है. Then tiredness, fatigue आ जाता है body में, body tired लगता है. And this kind of infection and the symptoms may last for 3 to 7 days, depends upon the immune system power. Generally ये वायरस 3 से 7 दिन तक रहता है. अच्छा, इसकी कोई मेडिसिन नहीं है by the way. There are no medicines, at least for viruses. In which sense I am talking about? There are few viruses against which, yes, medicines are prepared. But they say now that antibiotics are not for viruses. Antibiotics are actually for bacterial infections. Bacteria have cell wall. The antibiotics are the chemicals which will block the cell wall development. And this is how they target the bacteria and negatively affect them. The viruses do not have a cell wall formation. So antibiotics are not going to work on the virus. Remember this thing. So they are not at least affected by the antibiotics. In a natural manner, person can recover within 3 to 7 days. Our immune system, it will tackle the virus mainly. Infection can spread by the droplets resulting from coughing and sneezing. As I said, the infected person, as and when speaks, as and when sneezes, as and when coughs, spreads the aerosols, droplets. And these droplets, wherever they settle, they carry this pathogen in them. If these droplets are either inhaled or directly they are coming in contact with the nasal passage, they are transmitted through the contaminated objects also, even in the body, then they will cause the infection in a healthy person. Even touch, when you touch your mask, that finger you should not bring close to your eyes or your mouth or your nose, because through that also the virus can spread in over there. So not only the airborne, but even physical contacts can spread these viruses. That was the profile of common cold. If you have any question, you ask. Yes, anything to ask? It seems nothing to ask. Eva, you write down, because of overlapping, I could not read your question. If you can write down again. One student wrote the question, I could not read it properly. She is not able to write it down. You can unmute and ask. Sir, which medicines doctor give us then when we have a common cold? Well, we should ask the doctors if we have a common cold, and if they give some medicine, we should ask which way this is going to affect the virus, because ideally speaking, antibiotics though do not work upon viruses. So what type of medicines they must be giving, only they know. If someone's parent is doctor, let us get the information from that student. He or she will confirm with the parent that if we suffer from viral infection of a common cold, what do the medicines contain? How would they cope up with the viral infection? Okay. Some of the medicines may be to reduce the fever, reduce the coughing, reduce the congestion. So they can bring down the symptoms, they can reduce the symptoms. They are not killing the virus, that is for sure. You understand? Na? Many of these medicines may be to reduce the symptoms and severity, but killing the virus is not the job of these medicines. Very few medicines, there are some medicines which can directly kill the virus. Otherwise, viruses cannot be killed by any medicine as such. The remdesivir and others which we hear about COVID, they also don't kill the COVID. Absolutely not possible. They are to reduce the symptoms over there, mind you this. Yeah, maybe increasing your resistance power, etc., reducing the severity, reducing the symptoms, but not gonna kill the virus. And if somebody has the information, please bring it to our notice. Well, it's a time for break now. Exactly after 5 minutes we meet and we resume the work, and in that work we will talk about a next set of diseases. Till then, enjoy the break. And in this list, the first one that is coming, the protozoan disease called as malaria. Let's talk about malaria. Malaria is a protozoan caused disease. The pathogen responsible for this malaria is a protozoan named as Plasmodium. The genus Plasmodium, with several species over there, such as Vivax, Malari, Falciparum. So you have a Plasmodium vivax, you have a Plasmodium malari, you have a Plasmodium falciparum. Out of this, the Falciparum species infection is most dangerous one. Spelling mistake. Yeah. So Plasmodium falciparum, it is causing malignant malaria, which is the most serious amongst the different varieties of malaria. If malaria is caused by the falciparum, it is called Plasmodium falciparum, scientific name of the pathogen, and the condition is malaria falciparum, and it is a malignant one. It is the most serious compared with the vivax and malari forms of the malaria by those species. It can be lethal, deadly, fatal. इसमें डेथ हो सकती है, उस फॉर्मेट का होता है ये falciparum का infection compared with the vivax and malari, other two. This protozoan, in its life cycle, it requires two hosts. For malarial pathogen, malarial parasite, the Plasmodium, first of all, the primary host is Anopheles mosquito. Female member. Whereas secondary host of this is human or other vertebrates. Human or other vertebrates are its secondary host over there. Now, when as a pathogen, the adult stage carries out sexual reproduction in given host, then that host is to be known as primary host. Plasmodium carries out sexual reproduction in female Anopheles mosquito, so it is primary host of this pathogen. The pathogen lives even in a human being, but there it carries out its asexual reproduction. So humans and other vertebrates, where it lives, it is known as they are secondary hosts of this organism, Plasmodium. So you must understand, primary host is the one in which pathogen completes its sexual reproduction, whereas secondary host is the one in which the pathogen completes its asexual reproduction and remaining part of the life, we call it as the secondary host. Malarial parasite के लिए Anopheles mosquito female is a primary host. Human and other vertebrates are its secondary hosts. Acha, this is not only a primary host, but it is also a vector which will spread it from one person to another person. So from one human to another, or from one vertebrate to another one, it is this mosquito which will spread it. So because it is responsible for even spread, it is called as vector also. So female Anopheles mosquito is a vector as well as primary host, or rather primary host as well as vector. Is this clear to all? Then I will start the life cycle aspects of this mosquito and this pathogen rather. Fine. Let's move forward. See, female Anopheles mosquito, it is sanguivorous. Those animals which suck the blood of vertebrates are known as sanguivorous. जैसे leech होता है. Leech is a sanguivorous. The cyclostomes, the myxine and lampreys are, sanguivorous. Sanguinivorous. Lice is a sanguinivorous. Mosquito is a sanguinivorous. These organisms are blood suckers. They suck the blood of the organism. They are known as sanguinivorous organisms. Acha, female Anopheles is blood sucker, but not the male. Why so? Well, male feeds upon, it's a phytotroph, it's phytophagous rather. It feeds upon plant juices. Male mosquitoes suck the plant juices. वो उसके leaf और उसके stem का juice suck करते हैं. So they feed upon plant sap. Whereas female mosquitoes, Anopheles, they suck the blood of vertebrates, particularly human, because that blood is rich in proteins. And these proteins a female mosquito requires because she is supposed to lay the eggs. Male mosquitoes don't lay the eggs. It's a female mosquitoes which will lay the eggs. And these eggs require a lot of protein, which cannot be made available from the plant juices, plant saps. So they suck the blood of vertebrates. And in that process, they are transmitting the pathogen from one to another one, from diseased person to uninfected person over there. That's how the malaria spreads. Let us see the life cycle that requires two hosts, primary host, the mosquito, and the secondary host, the human. So in these two hosts, the life is lived by this pathogen. We're going to talk about that life. Let's first talk about cycle, the life cycle. Whenever you study the life cycle of any organism, one particular point is the one from where you will start the study of the cycle. So let us assume that from this point, if we start the study and understand this cycle. So let's say that a female Anopheles mosquito already carrying the plasmodium in her body, particularly in salivary glands of hers. So salivary glands of the female Anopheles is carrying the plasmodium. The stage in the life of this plasmodium, life cycle of this plasmodium, the stage that she's carrying in her salivary glands is called as sporozoid stage. When this mosquito bites the human to suck the blood, first of all, it introduces, its penetrating mouth part into the skin, reaching up to the blood supply so that it can suck the blood out of it. While doing so, it liberates small amount of saliva into that region. It carries heparin in it, a chemical which will stop the blood clotting. So the mosquito can enjoy the continuous supply of the blood while it is sucking out this blood over there. But while it is sucking out and secreting the saliva to maintain the continuous flow and prevent the clotting, while it secretes its saliva, this saliva is carrying lot of plasmodia which are in the stage of their life. The stage of their life is called as sporozoid. देखो ये स्पोरोजॉइड जैसे ये उसकी लाइफ साइकिल का एक स्टेज है. Then this parasite is introduced into the bloodstream of the person, and that is the point when a person is infected with this pathogen. How many could understand the step one? A female Anopheles carrying the sporozoite stage of the Plasmodium life cycle in her salivary glands. She is biting the human to suck the blood. In the process of this, first of all, penetrates the skin through its mouth parts. Second step, releases the saliva so that the blood flow is maintained, and then starts sucking the blood. But while she is sucking the blood, and before that she releases the saliva, small amount of saliva carries hundreds and thousands of sporozoite stage of Plasmodia. They get introduced into the bloodstream of the person. This is the point when person is infected with this pathogen, Plasmodium. Within less than an hour, through the blood circulation, the Plasmodium, particularly the sporozoite stage of the Plasmodium, has to reach to the liver. If it fails to reach to the liver, it will not survive further. But if it finds to, if it is getting success in reaching to the liver, while staying in the bloodstream, when it will pass through the liver, it will enter into the hepatocytes. Hepatocytes are the liver cells. It remains in the liver, it carries out infection in the liver. That's a second point over here. Within the liver, it will complete several rounds of multiplication. Here it carries out asexual reproduction. It's kind of a sporulation. These are sporozoids amongst the protozoa. So they will carry out this plasmodium in the form of a sporozoite stage, which has entered inside the liver cells called hepatocytes. There they feed upon the stored food in the hepatocytes, grow, and then multiply once or two times at least to increase their number. Then they rupture the liver cells and come out and carry out infection into the blood cells in RBCs. Now their second round of reproduction will be in RBCs. First was in hepatocytes. Now in RBCs, when they enter in, they feed upon, they actually change their shape while they are inside the RBC. When they are inside the RBC, they change their shape. They assume amoeba-like shape over there in RBC. In this amoeba-like shape which they develop pseudopodia. And then they start feeding upon the hemoglobin inside these erythrocytes or RBC. They digest the hemoglobin and separate hem and globin from that RBC. Globin is a protein which is their favorite food. They enjoy it. They grow further by consuming this globin. Meanwhile, they convert the hem into hemozoin, a toxic substance. And soon they multiply inside this RBC and rupture the RBC and come out from the RBC. Have a look. I'm talking about this one. Entered in the RBC, ate the hemoglobin by amoeboid stage. No more sporozoite, it is now amoeboid stage. Eating away the entire hemoglobin, breaking it into hemoglobin. Globin is engulfed and digested by the plasmodium. And meanwhile, hem is converted into a toxin called hemozoin. At this stage, now the pathogen will multiply itself. And when it is multiplied sufficiently, now it is rupturing the RBC and releasing itself over there. Acha, when it is released at that stage, hemozoin is released in the bloodstream, and that hemozoin is toxin and it causes severe fever. चिल्स के साथ फीवर आता है. Again, these pathogens enter into fresh RBCs, new RBCs, and in this round they transform themselves into what is called as gametocyte form. देखो स्पोरोजोइड फॉर्म में इन्फेक्शन हुआ हिपेटोसाइट्स का, बॉडी में एंट्री हुई, हिपेटोसाइट्स में एंटर हुई, वहां पे फिर उसका मल्टीप्लिकेशन हुआ, फिर वहां से वो गए आरबीसीज में, आरबीसीज में वो अमीबॉइड स्टेज में डेवलप हुए, अमीबॉइड स्टेज में से फिर वो जब माइन्यूट फॉर्म में ट्रांसफॉर्म हुए स्पोरोजोइड जैसे फॉर्मेट में, फिर वहां से वो इन्फेक्शन करते हैं आरबीसीज का. इस आरबीसीज में अब वो ट्रांसफॉर्म हो जाते हैं इनटू व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज गैमेटोसाइट्स. सो इन सम आरबीसीज they transform themselves into male gametocyte, and in other RBCs they will transform themselves into female gametocytes. So they develop the RBCs which carry either male gametocytes or female gametocytes. ये अब तक अनइन्फेक्टेड पर्सन था, अब ये उसका डिजीज्ड पर्सन है. दिस इज द पर्सन हु इज एक्चुअली सफरिंग फ्रॉम मलेरिया. Here the life cycle is over on the part of Plasmodium as far as human is concerned. At this stage, the mosquito is taking a bite of this person who is already suffering from malaria. So patient का blood suck करता है mosquito. When mosquito is sucking the blood of this patient, will suck the blood with RBCs or erythrocytes which are carrying the gametocytic stage of this organism. तो उसके गैमेटोसाइट वाला ब्लड वो एंटर होता है फ्रॉम द ह्यूमन, इट गोज इनटू मॉस्किटो. मॉस्किटो में से अनइन्फेक्टेड ह्यूमन में आया था यहां पे. अब ये ह्यूमन में से वापस मॉस्किटो में जा रहा है. I hope you could understand what I was explaining. So now it will enter into the mosquito itself. This blood goes to the mosquito's alimentary canal. ये अगर मॉस्किटो की alimentary canal है, उसमें ये आरबीसी आ जाते हैं, and some of these RBCs are carrying, ये ह्यूमन के RBCs में आ गए, इसका यहाँ पे ब्रेकअप होता है. From that, some of them are female gametes and others are male gametes. Male gametes थोड़े छोटे होते हैं, female gametes थोड़े बड़े होते हैं. So when RBCs are digested, this male and female gametes are set free in the alimentary canal of the mosquito. Now this male gamete and female gamete undergo fertilization. They undergo fertilization and they will form zygote here. They will form a zygote over here. This zygote forms larval stage, which is called ookinete. This larval stage enters into the wall of alimentary canal. This ookinete larva will enter into alimentary canal wall over there and settle over there. These were the gametocytes. This is the zygote. From the zygote, this is the stage called ookinete. Ookinete stage enters into the wall. ऐसे बहुत सारे ookinetes enter कर लेते हैं inside the wall of the alimentary canal, and there they make a cyst around them. This cyst is called as oocyst. So many oocysts are seen inside the wall of alimentary canal. Kushali ma'am, I'm just asking you to search out one pic that shows female Anopheles gut with the oocyst.
Okay.
External appearance પણ હશે કદાચ. So many oocysts may be seen like this. Each oocyst is occupied by ookinets over there. You see, ookinets are inside this oocyst. पूरी बहुत सारे gametocytes suck किए थे. Many of them were male gametocytes, many of them were female gametocytes. They fertilized, they formed several zygotes. These zygotes transform into larval stage called ookinete. These ookinetes, several of them, they start penetrating into the wall of alimentary canal, gut wall, in this anopheles, and there they develop what is called as oocysts, a thickened wall, and there is a one ookinete inside. In each oocyst, the ookinete undergoes multiplication and it forms large number of sporozoites. These oocysts rupture, ये oocyst का rupturation होता है. Yeah, these oocysts rupture themselves and releases this, what you call, sporozoites in the body cavity. These sporozoites migrate forward and enter inside, they will enter inside what you call the salivary glands. ये sporozoites उस cyst को rupture करके body cavity में आते हैं, and from the body cavity they will spread into the body and then finally reach to the salivary glands. And now they are ready to be launched into another body, another patient, another rather healthy person who will be now infected with them. When this mosquito is biting another person, these sporozoites will be released from the salivary gland into that person. Usually we could complete the whole life cycle in this manner. I hope you could understand. Could you understand? We started from this point and we are returning back to this point. यहाँ से स्टार्ट किया और यहाँ पे वापस आके एंड किया हमने. You could see that in human it is performing this asexual reproduction, but in a mosquito it performs its a sexual reproduction. So the mosquito is supposed to be considered as a primary host, human is supposed to be considered as the secondary host over here. And you could see that it's the mosquito which is spreading it from one person to another person. So we say that it is also a vector. Mosquito is also playing the role of vector other than playing the role of primary host. Now I am revising this, and then after I will ask you if you want me to revise again or if you have any question, then you can ask. Step 1, female Anopheles mosquito, which is carrying sporozoid stage in the life cycle of Plasmodium in her salivary glands, is biting the uninfected person and transmits the pathogen into his or her body. While, yeah, okay. While they transmit this pathogen into the body, how do they transmit? They penetrate the skin through their pointed mouth part, release some saliva before they start sucking the blood, This saliva has certain chemical which will prevent the blood clotting. So in that process, they discharge some saliva, and that saliva actually carries this sporozoite stage of the pathogen. Acha. When pathogen in the form of a sporozoite stage of the plasmodium life cycle enters in the bloodstream, through the bloodstream it has to reach to the liver. If it fails to reach to the liver within an hour or less than that, little less time, if it fails to reach over there, then it won't survive. If it reaches to the liver, it enters into the hepatocytes, the liver cells, starts consuming the stored food in them and grows over there. There is one entire cycle that you need to understand, that pathogen, the sporozoite stage enters in the liver cell. They eat the stored food and then multiply themselves over here. And when they increase their number, they burst open the liver cell and come out of it. Then they come out of the same. When they come out, there are two possibilities. Again, they may repeat their cycle to increase their number. And if number is sufficient, then they come out in the bloodstream over there. In bloodstream, their target is RBCs, erythrocytes. They enter in the erythrocyte. They feed upon the by assuming the by developing the pseudopodia. They turn into amoeboid stage in the life cycle of plasmodium. Inside the RBC, the amoeboid stage, plasmodium will eat upon hemoglobin. Hemoglobin broken down into hemoglobin. Globin is the protein which they will digest and get the nourishment. Heme is the compound which is converted into hemozoin, a toxin substance. And inside the RBC, after this feeding, they will grow and then they will go for one more round of sporulation, asexual reproduction. Again, when their numbers are increased, they rupture the RBC and large number of this plasmodia come out in the bloodstream. Well, hemozoin also is coming out, which is causing the disease condition. Then fever will be there because of its effect. Meanwhile, the pathogen will change its shape and will become inside the blood, it will become gametocytic stage. Gametocytic stage is the one which will enter into RBCs. In some RBCs, these gametocytes transform themselves into male gametocytes. In others, it will transform itself into female gametocytes. They are called as microcytes and microgametocytes and macrogametocytes, ऐसा कहलाते हैं, respectively male and female. Male gametocytes and female gametocytes in the blood of this patient who is suffering from malaria. Now a mosquito is biting this person and sucking the blood. Along with this blood, these RBCs, which are carrying gametocytes, reach into this gut of the mosquito. Inside the gut of the mosquito, RBCs are digested and gametocytes are set free in the gut. Male gametocyte will find the female gametocyte and will carry out the sexual reproduction and form the zygote. So this zygote is now turned into ookinete stage. Ookinete will embed itself into the alimentary canal wall. There in this wall, it will form the covering around it, which is called as the oocyst, and lots of oocyst in the wall of the mosquito gut. And when ookinete is transforming itself into through sporulation, it will multiply into what is called a sporozoite stage. It will rupture open the oocysts coming out in the blood, in the body fluid rather, and from that finally the destination is the salivary glands of that mosquito. This is ready to be launched. It is there inside the salivary gland of the female Anopheles, and when this female Anopheles will try to suck the blood of the another person, again this will enter into that person. I hope you have understood the same. Now, before you ask a question, let me show you one more diagram. It will take 1 minute, so gotta wait for that. See, like this, I was talking about the microgametocyte or microgamete, macrogamete, respectively, male and female, fertilize to form the zygote. Zygote turns to ookinete. Ookinete goes in the wall of the gut in the mosquito. There it develops the cyst, and inside the cyst, ookinete will transform itself into sporozoite. And when the sporozoite liberate over here, they reach to the salivary glands. That is how this cycle is accomplished. How many of you have understood this life cycle? Now, if you have any question, you may ask. Feel free to ask. Ma'am, we can stop the recording.